it's fantastic because just your big five for life. It took me weeks to figure out my big five for life, because I'm very, very multilateral. I'm interested in so many things.
Yeah.
And one of my points in life is what I love being at home.
Okay.
And I love movement.
Okay.
I love traveling around, and so actually I travel around with my motorhome.
There you go.
So that's
great solution.
That's the perfect combination of these two motives. Yeah.
Yes.
So I could say, okay, on the one hand, it's okay. I am at home, but not at home. Yeah. I'm on my road.
So I love that, because I think part of the big five for life becoming a reality is allowing yourself to be creative also. Yeah. And one of the things that we do, you mentioned the duration of time it takes to find it, and people always ask me, what's the path to finding your big five for life? Depends on the person, right? I took a year and backpacked around the world. That opened me up in ways I could have never imagined before that. Some people like yourself, you take weeks, you're thinking about it, processing it, the rest of that. Other people who go through a course, they figure it out in 2 days. Everybody's different, right? But the point is to allow yourself to be creative and thinking the way in which you could blend two realities like you did. I like being at home, but I like traveling, right? And when you get creative solutions, it's even better than the one or the other, and that's what's cool.
Yeah, I hate hotels.
See, that's great. You honored that part of yourself.
The moment I enter a hotel, I would leave, leave. But I don't want that bed here. I don't want to sleep here. I don't like the bathroom.
And there's someone else who would love to, like, they would love to spend their entire life living in a hotel, right? Exactly. So that's the beauty of our existence. We get to pick that.
So you had this depression state for 1 year. You came out, and then you became a consultant. Is that right?
So crazy cool story a little bit before that in terms of the way that the universe sometimes gives you a gift back or sets you on your path, maybe is a better way to think of it. And so, this pilot dream was absolutely yanked out of my control, and through nothing I had done, right? And I had worked so hard to get there. I mean, I can't even describe to you how many hours it took me to earn the money to go, how many hours I worked at school, and then it was gone just like that. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And so for a year, I went through this depression. Eventually, I got a recommendation that I should think about going to business school. When I graduated college, I was like, I'm never going back to school, right? Never. But the guy was like, seriously, you should really think about it. And so I applied to this particular university because it was where I was working by then. And they said, no, you can't go, right? And I was like, well, why not? So they said you could send in a letter and ask why you were denied. So I sent in a letter, and they came back and they said, well, you were denied because you didn't have enough practical work experience, right? So I sent back this scathing letter. Right. This was the biggest screw you letter ever, right? Whoa. But you have to understand where I was at the time, right? Everything that had gone horribly wrong and yanked out. But so I sent back this letter, and I was basically like, you have no concept of what it is like to be a pilot. You don't know what it's like to have people's lives at stake as you are under the controls. The windshield is covered in ice, your wings are covered in ice, and you have to manage 40-mile gusts of wind, right? So it was this whole, like, you don't know what I've been dealing with letter. And I think it was just cathartic. I was just getting it out of my system, right? I sent it, never ever expecting to hear anything back. And 6 months later, I got a letter in the mail saying, you're in for the fall to this school. So I go to my very first class, right? And again, I applied to this university because it was where I was already doing some work. I go to my very first class, and the people are always are talking about we're number one, we're number one. Like, what are we number one at, right? And I was Northwestern's Kellogg Business School. We were the #1 ranked business school in the country.
Whoa.
I didn't even know they ranked them.
Whoa.
Yeah. So here I was so completely clueless about that, and the universe handed me that one back.
Jackpot.
Right? Jackpot. Yes, complete jackpot. And that set my life on a trajectory, which in large part is why I am where I am today. So.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy cool.
So then you understood business.
Yeah.
You understood, wow, okay.
Yeah.
I have something more than just flying.
Yeah.
Just flying.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, you quit your job in 2002.
I did, yeah. So I did. I was working as a consultant at a job that I was very good at. I would get a call on a Friday night, and they'd say, hey, we need you in Des Moines, Iowa on Monday morning, and you need to be an expert in large-scale farm equipment, right? And so I was very good at getting super smart about something I knew nothing about very quickly and being able to walk into a senior management or board of director meeting with some really good ideas about the way that they could maximize their business. And it's because I was creative. I could say, well, I saw this in the corrugated boxes industry. And in radio, they do like this, right? And I worked for a great company, an amazing leader, but I didn't have the heart connection to the work, you know? And so very strange set of circumstances. This was the economic downturn at that time. Everything was going on, and I was able to take a furlough action through the company. I was actually forced on furlough through a strange set of circumstances. And I went off and backpacked around the world for a year. And when I came back, that's when I was inspired to write Das Café.
That's an interesting point. At what age were you at that time? When you said, okay, I was successful, I could have had the chance to go on with that job life.
Yeah.
I think you were married at that time as well, yeah?
Yeah, I had, that was actually sort of funny in that my wife and I literally were just about to get married when I got the call saying, like, you're being forced on furlough with this.
So the usual life would be, well, this is the setting, the perfect setting.
Yes.
Good job, good, where everything perfect.
Absolutely.
Let's settle down and earn money and get into the...
yes.
For the next 20, 30, 40 years.
You know what, though? You know what's cool is that I had mentally planned that in October of that year I was going to go quit.
Oh, wow.
And when I quit, I was going to go travel around the world. And this is another interesting example of sometimes where the universe enables you to get where you want to go, but it actually gets you there faster if you get out of your own way. And so I had planned on quitting in October of that year, and this was in February, and I got the call saying you'll be forced on furlough, and they said, we'll give you partial pay, full benefits, and just hang out, and we hope to call you back sometime in the future and bring you back on board. The economy never recovered, I never got the call to come back, but basically I got paid a fraction of my salary, but more than enough to backpack around the world, and that was our honeymoon for a year.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And by the way, for anybody who's watching this, if you really want to figure out whether your relationship's ever going to work or not, on your honeymoon, go backpack around the world on $40 a day. And if you can make that work, you can probably make it work. 11-hour bus rides in Thailand and sleeping on the floor on a dirt thing in the remote regions of China, it'll definitely test you, but so well worth it.
Wow. And your marriage is still existing.
Yes, we're still there. So.
Yeah, and it's one of your big five for life is your relationship and your daughter. And
yes, a loving relationship with the people that matter to me is critical. And you know, when you love, you were saying how much you love your job, and I do too. I love what I do. And so when you love what you do, it's not the traditional, I'm going off to work, I hate it, and I can't wait to come home, but I still have to be there till 8 o'clock at night. It's, I love what I do, and I'm so excited about the projects we're doing. And when you also make this dedication to have a loving relationship with your significant others or the people who matter to you, it's about pushing back from the table, from the work that you love, to go play wiffle ball in the driveway with the daughter that you love, right? And so it's good to have a clear understanding of what your big five for life are and the ways in which you actually fulfill them, or it's easy to get out of sync.
Wow, so you traveled the world for 9 months, and what happened then? And after that you had this transformation into somebody who knew how life worked.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I've got it all figured out now, but it definitely gave me the opportunity to see the world in a completely different way and open my mind in countless themes and ideas. I had an amazing experience on a train in China where I lost all fear of everything.
How was it?
Well, so I had a traumatic childhood experience when I was about 5 or 6 years old, something that I had long forgotten. And here I am backpacking around the world, and I'm on this train in China. It's 10 o'clock at night. And in China at the time, when it hit 10 o'clock, it was literally like 9:59, all the lights are on, 10 o'clock, everything goes off. Just like, there's no warning, there's nothing. And you have nothing to do except lay there in your bunk. And it's, 3 bunks and clickety-clack, clickety-clack. And I'm laying there in my bunk, and I have all these thoughts coming to me, and it's memories from my past. And I remember laying there in the bunk and asking the question, why are all these thoughts coming to me, right? And it was like being in a movie all of a sudden, flash, my focal point, and I'm in this moment when I was 5 or 6 years old, which I didn't even remember. And so I had this vivid recollection of the moment, but now I was the viewer watching the moment, right? And it was a situation where I was being punished for something, something that was not my fault or that I could have never changed, right? And in that moment, because I was supposed to do something that which could not be done, it was a task that was given to me that could not be accomplished through no fault of my own. And I knew as a small child that if I came back up the stairs and the task was not accomplished, that there would be yelling and screaming and door slamming and who knew what else after that, right? And it was weird because as I was in the train having this memory and watching it, I could see that little boy at 5 or 6, and he was at the base of the stairs and he was crying, right? Because he couldn't go upstairs, but he couldn't stay in the basement forever either. And the whole recollection of the memory came back to me, and it made it instantly apparent that for the next 30 years or however many, 26 years after that, I would operate between a fear of success or a fear of success and a fear of failure. And that seems so weird to people, right? Because they're like, how can you have a fear of success and a fear of failure? But what it manifests is you will only take on things that you know you can be good at, and you will only do them up to the point where you push greatness. Because in order to get to greatness, you have to fail, right? And so in my everyday lives, people would have said, that's insane. Like, you're successful in your business, you're a successful athlete. But I never pushed the next level beyond that. I would always disengage when I thought there was a chance of failure. So I'm on this train in China, I have this moment of epiphany, and I kid you not, it was the most profound thing. I see this little boy, I see him, I see all the ways this has impacted my life, and just like that, every fear I've ever had went away. It was crazy, it was cool.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And from that point, you said you allowed yourself to go to the next level.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the fear was gone.
Fear was gone, yeah.
And up to that point, I mean, there's a pattern. Maybe there's a pattern. Do what other people expect me to do.
Yeah.
Be a part of the game of other people, not be a part of my game.
Sure.
And then you are in the train of China, you see yourself as a boy, and so, no, that's not my game.
Yeah. Now, here's the cool piece of that story, right? Because it's easy to assign blame to the people who helped cause that situation. But my personal life philosophy is that the experience of our 28,900 days, or hopefully a little more if we get that, is that we are here to learn. We are here to grow. And so I think I wrote about this in Safari des Lebens, that I view life as sort of like a bunch of giant like train boards where you're looking at destinations, but instead of destinations, you're picking challenges you would like to deal with while you're in your human form. So I want to have a fear of failure. I want to have a lack of self-confidence. I want to have people who don't believe in me. I want to, whatever, right? And then you're born and you have no idea what you picked off the big board, but part of the goal of life is to figure this out, right? And in order for you to have these experiences which help manifest that reality, there has to be people who play a particular role, right? So had someone not been that authority figure creating that moment for that 5-year-old boy, I would not have had this opportunity to deal with a fear of failure and a fear of success. So this is important because not necessarily that you want to stay with these people, right? So it doesn't mean that you have to stay in the environment that's uncomfortable or toxic. But it's okay to ask the question, what have I learned from this experience? And what am I grateful that I learned from this experience? And now I will move on, right? Because otherwise you can spend your whole life blaming people for creating the reality, and all we're doing is looking backwards.
So if something bad happens, you can say, well, let it go. There will be a reason for that, and you will see it afterwards. Like the famous speech of Steve Jobs, connecting the dots, living forward, understanding backwards.
And don't get me wrong, I don't want to sound Pollyanna about it, that, oh, don't worry, right? You just spent a year in a coma. Hey, it's okay, just everything will be okay, and find the reason and move forward, right? I think that's unrealistic, especially given some of the things we go through as human beings. But again, the more we can operate from that place of inquisitiveness, one of my favorite expressions is, why is this happening to me? Right? But if we ask it as, why is this happening to me?
Then you are a victim.
Now I'm a victim, right?
Sure.
But if I can get myself to the place where I can, with pure heart, I can ask, why is this happening to me? Now it's a whole different game. I can learn from that moment. I can grow from it. I can make sure I don't make the same mistake again, right? Because what if I enter a toxic relationship with someone and I feel bad about myself, I feel physically abused or mentally or emotionally abused? If I don't learn, it's not enough that I leave the relationship. I'm just going to enter another one that's just like it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of the way I play in this space.
Wow. And so you came back and you wrote the book.
Yeah.